ladies and gentlemen, welcome along to another round of your PC Tier 5 season here in World Online Racing. We are here tonight to traverse around Zandvoort, the Dutch Grand Prix tonight. I am Cockcast, and alongside me I have Max Ring. Good evening, Max. How excited are we to see the action here around Zandvoort as Michael Heidrich goes up into pole position with a 108.7 already?
Hello, everybody. I'm very good here this evening. Should be a very interesting race around Zandvoort. And, of course, as you said there, Cock has a 1 minute 8.7 from Heindrich to go straight to the top of the times. And how are you, Cockcaz, on this Monday evening? It's a pleasure to be back in the commentary box after neither of us being available last week.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, the broadcast coming back is great news because we do get some action here. And Ironut going up into first place. Let's talk about Ironut, actually, and let's refer to the standings while the first times are coming in, and you can watch the board on your left. Ironut, top of the standings, but he's not alone up there, as we have, well, an incredibly close fight so far in this season, with Ironut and NSR joint at the top of the standings. NSR, we are watching his perspective right now as he comes around the final couple of corners. Is he going to be able to topple his title rival early on in this qualifying session? We'll see as the Aston Martin comes up to the line, and no, he's not. He's actually in P13, rather low down there, but bank collapse don't mean much in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, the top two, 49 points each, and then it's actually incredibly close, 24 points between the top 8 drivers, and that 24th, well, his only points finish was a victory, so there's still a hell of a lot to play for in this season. There's still a hell of a lot of protagonists to cast their magic over some of the circuits that we have to traverse this season. And the Dutch Grand Prix, it's just the latest one. We've got most of the first times coming in now, Danko being the next one to head around what is essentially a glorified karting track of Zandvoort, let's be honest, but that makes it even better with a lot of rear loss expected if you want a really good time here. You're just going to throw the car and hope it sticks. But yeah, championship fight is well and truly on. We are now, this will be the halfway point of the 10-round season. And with, well, the top 8 drivers split by just 24 points. The top 4 split by just 9. This should be a good one, shouldn't it?
Yeah, it really should be an interesting evening. Championship can go either way for a total of 8 drivers in this Grand Prix, and that is going to be so special to watch. Of course, NSR, who is the championship leader, hasn't actually scored a win so far this season. He scored a best place of second in Singapore. Ironut, of course, winning last time out in Silverstone, so he's looking to carry on that fantastic form that he has had with this provisional pole position, 2/10 up over the rest of the field. But it's going to be an interesting evening tonight. Lots to play for, difficult circuit to overtake. Really going to have to get those elbows out if you want to get the moves done. Nothing like the circuits we've seen so far this season, and 1 or 2 real overtaking opportunities into turn 1 and into turn 11. And a lot of these corners, surprisingly, either an easy lift, or a heavy lift, sorry, should I say, or flat out, like what AMG's doing through turn 8 into turn 9 and up into turn 10 now. He goes down to 3rd gear, hit that inside curb, run the car all the way out wide, bring it to the right-hand side, so then flick yourself in to turn 11. It'll be DRS open for the Mercedes driver. Also going to be in the middle sector, an apparent purple first sector from the Mercedes, an apparent purple middle sector. So far, this lap is so good. So for AMG as he exits out of the right-hander and into the final braking zone of turn 14. DRS open as we head through the banking. A lot of bumps through here to unsettle the car, and that certainly has happened. AMG with a big slide through the banking, luckily to save the car. He slots in place, only just behind Adam Radak, but Ironut's time still standing strong, and he's just started his next flying lap, heading into turn 3 now. Let's see what the V-Carb can do, but with a big moment, mid-corner through the banking.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's 2/10 already ahead of Michael Heidrich in second place, so it's a very, very good start from the RB, and we'll see whether he's able to improve on that as we head through the session, with track evolution being so prominent on F1 24, as well as a few other things that I'm sure we're going to have to talk about tonight. Yeah, track evolution so crucial. And for Ironut, he'll be wanting to extend that advantage at the top of the standings. He's not pushing on this one, though, but he's got a fully RS tank, and he's going to get ready to push on the next. You've got 4 drivers in the 108.7s. You've got 3 drivers within the 108.79s, with Timon Voss 790, David Martinez 794, and Adam Radek 795. So, yeah, the top is close, and it could get even closer. Ironut across the line. This will be the start of his first proper attempt and his first proper go at trying to beat that 108.554. It's a very, very difficult circuit to get right. You've got to get the minimum speed up as soon as you can as Robert Danilescu comes across the line. It's currently a RB12 and he's just over a 10th down on his teammate. Ironut is improving though, so that gap could increase. And it's a purple first sector, and I'm inclined to believe that. Ironut now minimum speed up as much as he can. That is the majority of the second sector, as Timon Voss improves his time by just 0.07 of a second. Ironut across the second sector split time now is improved by almost a 10th. What sort of time can he find in this final sector with half an ERS tank to go? We will have to wait and see. He's only got one more corner to go. Halfway through this corner, the DRS will be available to him. It's now that he's able to open the rear flap, and around the final corner he will come, putting the power down as much as he can, and he's going to dive into the pits because that improvement was not enough for the RB. So it shows that there is time in his lap, and for the rest of the grid that's probably quite scary.
Yeah, it certainly is. When someone is so far in front of you already, having that just extra few half a tenth or even only a few hundredths of a second in the lap time still is a really scary sight to see, and that certainly is the case for Iron. Iron Sanger goes up into second place. He's about half a tenth off the back of Ironut, so a good lap time there from the Haas driver. Had issues getting into the lobby originally, but he's managed to get into the session this time around. Big thing to look out for this evening is, of course, with this new update, you might have seen it in Tier 4, there is a big issue with FPS and screen freezes. So this race still is up in jeopardy because many drivers I've just seen in the Discord are complaining about getting screen freezes, frame drops mid-lap, and that is not the greatest scenario if we want a fair and clean race. So interesting thing to look out for. That's going to be on the driver's mind, isn't it, Kotkaz, as they're on their laps and also into the Grand Prix. It just brings in that little shadow of doubt, that little hindrance to their focus, and that could be the difference between winning and losing the Grand Prix.
Yeah, it's certainly going to play on their minds, and it's not quite the conditions they expect. And we know at this high level, not having the conditions they expect can really upset a few of these drivers. So far, we've only had a couple of FPS drops, mainly around the final corner. Another one there for Tim Bayer as he comes around the final couple of corners. I'm sure it will get worse in the race when we've got multiple cars that we're watching. But Tim Bayer across the line, 108.602, front row for the Alpine at the moment. But with how well the times are clumped together, I'm sure we'll be seeing somebody at least level that, if not improve on it, as they head up to the line. Now the second set of times are being completed. Giovanni Baruzza will come up to the line. He's improved by 0.4. He's lost a little bit of time on that final sector, but not enough, and he's improved by 3.5 and up into 7th place. Dallin McTeer, the next driver, to come across the line. He's improved by 0.2, but he needs a hell of a lot more if he wants to get anywhere in this session, and 15th isn't quite good enough for the man currently in P4 in the drivers' standings. 1 victory, 1 third place, and 2 DNFs. He's going to want to improve on that record, but it's not been a good start to him in this session. David Martinez coming into the pits, an AMG coming around the final couple of corners. We watched his first lap. Let's watch the end of his second one now, and it's a lot cleaner than the first one was. And he's going to come up to the line as the Mercedes, and it's going to be a 108.719 with a purple third sector that will see him up to 6th place. So the drivers are improving, but they're improving at the same rate, with Tim Beyer and Ariane Sanger split by just 0.02 of a second. Robert Dinilescu and Michael Heidrich still within a tenth of Beyer and Sanger, and then AMG, Voss, Barutza, and Radek and Martinez in the 0.7s, and Chrisu just going up into the 0.6s as well. So times are definitely coming down. There is definitely time to find. And for Robert Dinilescu, it's been a 10th so far. For Ironut, it was a 10th as the RB went up and improved on his time and sealed that pole position even more with 4 minutes 45 left on the clock. Robert Dinilescu, he's improved by a 10th. He could be finding himself on the front row, or he could be finding himself in the pit lane, because he has decided that it was not enough of an improvement. He's got confidence that he'll be able to take that pole position. I didn't really see any mistakes in that final sector, so an interesting decision to come in. But 4 minutes, well, 4.5 minutes essentially on the clock. This has got to be the time where they start thinking the bigger picture, the final runs, and the final attempts to improve on their time heading into race day.
Yeah, we certainly are eyeing up with a nice and healthy gap. Nearly 2 tenths over Tim Beyer and Ariane Sanger, who's now on his next flying lap. The Haas driver now heading up into turns 2 and then into turn 3. Get on the brakes, make sure you get the power nice and steadily, but a big slide there for the Haas. That's surely going to ruin any chance of getting a possible improvement. Let's see how much he is down by in that first sector. He's down by half a second, so yes, no time going to be found in this lap. He's probably just going to try to send this one all the way back to the pit lane, get a fresh set of boots on, and then come out once again. Next driver that will be on a lap, heading on to his out lap just now, is David Martinez. So, the Mercedes driver is currently sitting in 11th place, only just by 0.03 of a second outside that top 10, looking to break into that and maybe get into those 0.6s. We've seen this track evolution play a key part in this session so far, and that is what has gained these drivers around about a 10th of a second on their second laps. Crucially, something we've not talked about, championship leader NSR down in 19th place. Of course, he's tied on points with Ironut, who's at the top of the time. So, contrasting fortunes so far in this session for the championship protagonist, the top 2 in the standings, and level on points. Ironut has it all to play for. He's coming out once again. He's obviously going to try and extend that margin even more. Certainly still time in that lap, I would think, with this track evolution, how this track is constantly getting quicker. So we'll have to wait and see. David Martinez starting his next lap of the session. His final lap of the sessions. He heads into turn 3. Get on the power nice and gently out of third gear. You then run it all the way up that inside of the banking as we now head through turns 5 and 6. It'll be flat out through turn 7. He's up by nearly a 10.5 there is David Martinez. So it's a very good first sector for the Mercedes driver so far. Can he rival Ironut's time as we're heading into turns 9, and this will be into turn 10. Make sure you hit that apex ever so slightly. Don't clip that curb. You just want to get as close to it as possible. DRS open as we head down into the braking zone of turns 11 and 12. He's actually lost time in that middle sector. Lost about a 10.5 in all terms of it, and that is really poor from David Martinez. A lap that looked like it could at least rival that front row now is all up to this final sector. So DRS open for the Mercedes driver. What can he do as he comes up to the line? Can he break into that top 10? Yes, he can. He goes into 9th place, but will be hugely disappointed with the time he found in that final sector as well. The front row was definitely on, but unfortunately for David Martinez, he has to settle for 9th. But with more drivers now starting their out laps and their flying laps, we're surely going to see him topple down the times.
Yeah, with how close the grid is as well, because he went into the 0.7s, but he joined a group of now 5 who are in the 0.7s, and then there's a group of 5 in the 0.6s. So, yeah, incredibly tight field. And you feel as though those from 12th down, those in the 0.9s and above, you feel they've got more time to find as well. Ironut, we're just watching with him as he heads through the second sector. And we'll see if he can improve on that 0.4 that currently has him pole position. He can by half a tenth. Christian Lubinov will not be improving on his time. He is the first retirement of the session. I think that was Danko coming up to the line. And he's still in the 109.1, so a lot to think about for the Haas driver. But for Ironut, he's going to have his mind as clear as day across the line 108.390. He is reaching heights that drivers could only dream of before the session began. And I'd be interested to see if anyone is able to match that. Giovanni Baruzza will be the next one to set his challenger. And he's going to come up to the line. And it's not going to be anywhere near close enough. Robert Danilescu, though, will come up to the front row. He will join his teammate up there. Chrisu will not be improving, nor will Michael Heidrecht, by enough at least to move him up. Yanni Alexandrov into P12. He's been talking a lot of fighting talk before this race. Adam Radek up into P6. And now eyes will turn to NSR, who comes across the line. He's improved, but P16 is not enough for a championship contender, let alone a championship leader. And so he has a lot of re-evaluating to do as we head into the race session. Believe that is Mouchoir coming up to the line, improving, but not by enough. P16 is where he will start this race from. Jack Maloney is improving, but only just, and he actually ends up not improving on his time. He's down on it. AMG has yet another improvement, yet more time to find in this lap. One more corner to go. DRS is open for the Mercedes as he heads around the final corner, putting the power down. The checkered flag is waved, and AMG finds himself on that third spot on the grid. He is on that podium for the battle for pole. Chrisu will be the next and final driver across the line, and he will not improve. So it's a RB 1-2. Ironut taking that pole position, the joint championship leader. He had a great day so far, but NSR, he's got a lot of work to do. He's down in P17, so really, really not his day by supreme contrast.
Yeah, big contrast between the top two in the championship, and that really does blow the door wide open for Ironut to capitalise on his rival's misfortune. And brilliantly done from both RBs to get onto that front row. Danilescu only 35 thousandths of a second behind his teammate Ironut. AMG with a very good result in that third place. Tim Bayer fourth. Arian Sanger in fifth. Was up on his final lap, but then unfortunately could not improve onto that second row of the grid. Heidrich in sixth. Radek seventh. Chrisu eighth. Ninth was Voss, and David Martinez finishes off the top 10. Baruzza in 11th. Sandrov 12th. Daniel 13th. McTeer 14th. Lubinov in 15th. Mukwai 16th. Disaster for the man leading the championship. NSR down in 17th. A poor showing in this session. Danko 18th. And then Jack Baloli in 19th. Of course, we say it's a poor session for NSR, but don't forget what I said earlier. The screen freezes, the FPS drops. They are certainly hindering some of these drivers' lap times, including the man sitting in 7th, which I've seen in the Discord, Adam Radek, and also Tim Bayer as well. The FPS drops have really affected their lap times. So we could have seen a whole different complexion through this qualifying session. It was all a game of luck. And luckily, for the man tied on points for the championship lead, Ironut, it was in his favour. We will be having a lobby restart for the game to... for everyone to restart their games. And unfortunately, Cockaz, I don't know if you've still got the game up on the stream, but we've missed out on monsoon conditions for the start of this Grand Prix.
We can only hope that they translate over to the race session, because what a race that would be with the FPS drops, with the weather conditions. It would certainly make for a dramatic one. Yeah, we will be having a lobby restart. This will not be the green flag conditions, well, as it would be at the moment. We don't know what it actually will be as we head into the session. For now, we are going to be treated to a message from our sponsors, Gridfinder and Next Level Racing. Thank you so much for them for sponsoring us. And let's get ready. Let's get suited and booted for race day. ladies and gentlemen. That was a long intermission that we made you sit through. Well, we didn't make you sit through it. You could have gone and done something else, but you're just so captivated by the PC tier 5 action that you couldn't stay away, could you? And now we've got quite a few laps around Zandvoort to look forward to. We've got the cars lined up on the grid, but which one is going to come out on top? I'll throw this one over to you, Max Ring, first.
Oh, now this is a tricky one to decide. But knowing it's Zandvoort, very tricky circuit to overtake. Very much going to be a DRS train, more like a peloton this evening in a high-speed game of chess. I'm just going to go for Iron Up. He got a brilliant pole position lap time, and I think if Dinalescu's able to stay behind him on that opening lap, we're certainly going to see the V-Carbs work together, and with Iron Up being in the better championship position, I think Robert will just let him go and win this one.
I think you've got to think about that at this point in the season. It's the teamwork element that you're able to throw into it. And Dinalescu, the likelihood is that he would let him go. But these are all questions that will be answered in time. I believe it's 39 laps around Zandvoort. I could be corrected, but we are going to go to the 5 red lights for the Dutch Grand Prix. It's lights. And it's action. Robert Dinalescu gets a great start. Iron Up gets an even better one. And Dinalescu with a little bit of wheel spin. He will have to cover off AMG into turn number 1. As the Mercedes is around the outside. But he's around the outside too far. He's committed too hard to the overtake. And Tim Bayer slides his way through. Ariane Sanger almost sliding his way through as well. Bayer defending the inside. AMG holding the outside. And again, he could be losing more time whilst going for an overtake as Ariane Sanger waiting in the wings. And they're still side by side incredibly as they head through Sector 2 now. AMG, he's going to actually have to be forced out in the end in order to make him back out. And that allows Ariane Sanger to come into the fight down the inside. Huge send from the Haas, clinging onto the outside line once again. AMG is not going to give these positions up in a hurry because of the strong qualifying he had, but he just hasn't had the pace on this lap 1 so far. And it's going to have to be another send from Sanger, or it's going to be a late dive from AMG to hold on to the position as fights between Tymon Voss and Michael Heidrich, who's dropped down the order now. There was contact between the Kick Sauber and the Williams, and it sees Heidrich drop to the rear of the field. The end of lap 1, though. Ironut will lead this race away, and Michael Heidrich will be left ruining that decision to fight away. AMG, he lost a position to Sanger. He hasn't lost another one he lost a position to Bayer, sorry. He hasn't lost it to Sanger just yet, but you feel like that's brewing. NSR has had an incredible start. He has jumped all the way from P17 up to P12. As AMG is having issues, he's dropped down now. Who knows what happened? Maybe contact. He's got no damage, but the Mercedes has dropped. He started P3. He's in P15 by lap 2.
Disastrous start for the Mercedes driver who looked to be on for such a good result here this evening. He's down to 15th place now, and that gives another position to your championship leader, NSR. And for Ironut, it was a dream getaway, and now there's contact between Tymon Voss and Adam Radek as they're side by side now between the two Scarlet Red Ferraris, as here comes Sandrov on that outside line, able to pick off his teammate who got the worst run out the corner. But Radek now into the back of Sandrov. Contact between the two prancing horses. Luckily, both able to stay in a straight line and on the road. But of course, Sandrov and Martinez, the only two drivers in this field on that soft compounded tyres. Further up, are we going to see a swap for positions between the V-Carbs? No, we are not. Robert Danilescu just going to sit behind 4. Now the two McLaren swap places heading into turn 1. Dallin taking it past Baruso, and AMG again involved in an incident. This time 2 on the brakes on the inside of Baruso, and unfortunately he spins all the way to the back of the field, and AMG having an absolute disastrous opening 3 laps to this Grand Prix. Just like Heidrich, they've both been involved in accidents and are now down into 18th and 19th places respectively. Ironut still leading the way, but look at Sanger all over the back of Tim Bayer, looking to the inside through turn 9. The Haas driver really opportunistic with his braking points and nearly into the side of the Alpine into turn 10. He's getting really racy here, really getting those elbows out is the Haas driver. Of course, currently sitting third place in the standings, 6 points off NSR and Ironer. He's looking to make an impact on this championship. It can still work into his favour, and Ian Singer now going to look for a move, maybe into turn 1 on the Alpine in front.
And I wouldn't be surprised if he makes this move. There could be a move made for the lead of the race, though. Ironut and Dinilescu side by side, and it looks actually like Ironut just let him through, and then he slammed the door shut on Tim Bayer behind. Fastest lap of the Grand Prix goes to Yanni Alexandrov on those softs, and the Ferrari and the Mercedes of David Martinez are going to have to try and make those tyres work as soon as they can. AMG, though, the other Mercedes, really not his day. As he drops to the rear of the field. Sanger looking for that move on Tim Bayer. He can tell that he's faster. He is just waiting and waiting for the Alpine to make a mistake. But the Haas has had a half spin and he drops behind Timon Voss. He could drop behind Yanni Alexandrov as well. A huge error from the Haas that would change his strategy completely. And Alexandrov squeezes him off. And now Ariane Sanger dropping all the way down. P10. Is where the Haas finds himself, just getting tangled up with first maybe Tim Bayer or maybe just a mistake by himself and then Yanni Alexandrov. And it's going wrong for some of the drivers at the top of the field, some of the racier drivers at the top of the field. So you've got to settle in. There's 36 laps around this Zandvoort circuit as Ironut and Dinilescu make a swap for the lead. Tim Bayer waiting there, but he's not going to make that move just yet. He's going to try and get the exit, but not having quite the overspeed to make that move. Heydrich is going to try and regain the positions. He's up into P15. David Martinez makes his way past Adam Radek into P6. And so the soft runners are making them work. But Ariane Sanger joining the club of now 2 drivers who started incredibly well. Maybe pushed a little bit over the line. And then just it all fell to pieces.
Yeah. Just being too aggressive on your tyres and just on those overtaking opportunities does bite once those tyres get a little bit too hot for their liking. And now that has unleashed Timon Voss onto the back of Tim Bayer. Heading into turns 11 and 12. The Alpine driver still close to the back of Robert Dinilescu as we're now heading into the final braking zone. And we'll see, heading down that main straight, will any moves be made either between the 2 V-carbs or the Alpine behind. So here we are then, heading through the pitch straight. No one actually be getting close enough for a move into that first corner. Sanger now with the fastest lap. What a brilliant way to respond from that earlier incident on that lap before he's got past Daniel as well. And he now moves himself up into 9th place. So he's still in contention for this one. Don't rule him out just yet. He's still in this DRS train that is behind Iona. NSR has fallen off the back of that train while we speak. So the championship leader 2.1 seconds back, really struggling around this circuit here this evening. And for the top 10, they're now breaking away from the rest of the field. So as long as you keep it in a straight line, keep it happy, you will be on to score points if you're in the top 10 in these standings so far. Dinilescu and Ironut. I think Ironut must have a bit of a screen freeze there, because not only has Dinilescu got by, Tim Bayer has as well. Dallin McTeer's fallen down the order. Some issues still being held in this lobby. And unfortunately for Ironut, who's tied on points with NSR, he's dropped places to not only his teammate, which wouldn't have been the end of the world, but crucially, the Alpina Tim Bayer.
Yeah, and Tim Bayer's going to give up more of a fight than Dinilescu would. So Ironut will have to make this move soon, and he's going to have to make it as cleanly as possible. Bayer to the inside in turn number 1 of Robert Dinilescu. Can he cling on? He's got a tyre in there still, but a big wobble on the exit. Opens up the door to Ironut. Bayer slams it shut. It's not this lap that he's going to make that overtake. It could be that on the exit as Tim Bayer goes wide, but not to be. It's just the screen freezes, I think, are costing a lot of the drivers so far, and it's really the changing nature of the game that's really spicing this race, at least, up. With the update coming today, it means that they haven't had much time to prepare, as there goes Yanni Alexandrov defending the inside line of David Martinez. Ariane Sanger, in the meantime, diving it down the inside of Chrisu. Martinez and Alexandrov fighting away. We saw last time what happened when Alexandrov went side by side through the section with someone, and Martinez, he's done it to himself as he's had a wobble on the exit, and he drops down. There's contact, though, as he sends it down the inside of Adam Radek, trying to gain the position back that he lost, and getting a little bit very, very aggressive there is the Mercedes, but he will regain that P6 spot for now. NSR is right on the rear of Chrisu, who must have had an issue because he's 2.2 seconds behind now. What on earth has happened to Chrisu? Tim Bayer and Dinalescu swapping for the lead into turn number 1. It's 3 wide for P10 as they head into turn number 1. And Danko comes from absolutely nowhere to take the lead in this battle. NSR makes the move past Chrisu, who struggled on that last lap. And the Aston Martin, the championship leader, will be looking to try to fight forward, try to fight his way up to Ironut. But he is having a good race so far. He's having a good run up the grid. But Ironut, he's dropped since that pole position. He had a moment of ghosting. I don't know whether it's a disconnect, a screen freeze. Something has gone wrong on the Romanian's end. And he has dropped down to P3.
Yeah, really unfortunate for Ironut with all this situation going on. Danko's been overtaken by Chris Yu and NSR. There was contact between Chris and Ariane Sanger into 11 and 12. And that really cost the Williams driver a heap of time. So he's now falling off the back of that DRS train. So we have 9 cars in that train for the lead. But Sanger is nearly dropping out of that train as well. The 2 drivers on the soft compounded tyres. Their tyres are still holding up very well indeed. And we're going to have 3 wide down the main straight. Here comes Ironut to maybe not even get past Tim Bayer, but Denilescu as well. The V-Carbs make contact into turn 1, but Denilescu comes out on top on that outside line. A little bit too risky for Ironut to try and keep his foot in. Nearly disaster for the man fighting for that championship lead, as Lubinov has now had a collision somewhere or just spun by himself as he's brought out a yellow flag and is down to 19th place. But for Ironut, a brilliant way to get past Tim Bayer, and Denilescu will now surely help him play that team game. But all these drivers still need to look out for not only the soft runners behind of Sandrov and Martinez, but also Timon Voss as well. He's been waiting in the wings. He's been patiently waiting behind these guys, saving his tyres. And he certainly could mount an attack within the next few laps. So, for Timon Voss in the Kick Sauber, it could be a time to strike, maybe within the next few laps. Once another move like that has been made by either Ironut or Tim Bayer, we could maybe see the Kick Sauber get into that top 2.
And we've seen some aggressive moves from Yanni Alexandrov, David Martinez, but also the top 3 as well. So they are very willing to get their elbows out. And there goes Ironut into the lead of the race. Timon Voss and Yanni Alexandrov side by side. The Ferrari holding onto it. The superior grip of the soft compound tyres is enough to blast him into P4. And now Timon Voss is left ruining a mistake that he made with Alexandrov pulling alongside Christian Lubinov for tyres from the session. It's really not been his race or his season so far for the SZK driver, which is apparently made up according to him. But Yanni Alexandrov making his way past Voss. David Martinez running very wide. And he's opened the door for Adam Radek to head through into P6 now. And Martinez not taking advantage of those softs as much as he could be. They must be struggling now after 10 laps of use. They've got 26 laps left in this race to manage to do something different. They tried something different earlier on. It's working for Yanni Alexandrov at the moment. Not so much for David Martinez. Dinalescu getting a poor exit. He could be under threat around the final corner from the Alpina Tim Bayer. But Bayer will be looking behind. He'll be scared of Yanni Alexandrov and what he's capable of. We've seen him go for aggressive moves in the past. We could see him go for another one here if he gets close enough down the straight. We could be seeing as well a scrap for the lead of the race. Not quite. Dinalescu tucks in behind. Yanni Alexandrov goes very wide and he opens the door for Timon Voss again. They're side by side on the exit. But Alexandrov again, it's like he's using the Formula E boost mode because he is getting that exit absolutely pinpoint perfect, which means that he's able to blast his way past Yanni Alexandrov once again. Dallin McTeer has taken the option of retiring from this race, and that will do his championship chances some harm. Tim Bayer looking to the inside of Dinalescu, tucking back in because this move is not going to be made in this sector. It's sector 3 where he's going to try to set himself up for. And I think that's going to be the case for quite a few of these drivers. The top 9 barely split. And that means Ariane Sanger could go down the inside. It's chaos. Round goes David Martinez. It's inside Ariane Sanger and Tim Bayer, who drops down the order into P6. Not sure what's happened to the Alpine there. But whatever it is, it's cost him a hell of a lot. And that could be race ruining for the Alpine. Yanni Alexandrov moves up into P3 past Timon Voss. Absolute chaos here. The game update it's causing absolute chaos here in Zandvoort, And we're only a third of the way through.
Oh my god, I think Tim Bayer had a huge moment on the grass, on the brakes, into turn 10, and that caused him to go into a half slide and drop down to this 6th place, and now he's under pressure from Daniel behind. So will the Aston Martin look for a move on the Alpine at some point throughout this lap? Ironer still leading the way. He's nice and calm out in front after that earlier screen freeze, and him and Robert Danilescu have now an 8/10 advantage over Yannick Sandrov, so that is really working into their favour. And when that soft tyre runner comes into the pit lane like David Martinez did at the end of the last lap, we could see the V-Carbs having a chunky 1 second gap to the cars in front. Sanger behind, looking to make a move on Simon Voss. He's really looking racy, is the Haas driver. Even though he made that mistake earlier on, it has not shook his confidence one bit. He is still pushing on. He's still fighting for this one and really digging deep in this Grand Prix. We're on lap 12 of 36. That gap between the top two and Yannick Sandrov still around about 9/10 of a second. So Yannick does have the DRS of the DRS heading down that main straight. We're going to have a switch for the lead between the two V-Carbs as well. There goes Danilescu on Ironheart. Danilescu just going to go a little bit deep into the corner. Radek now to the inside of Daniel. The Ferrari making the move there on the Aston Martin. That demotes Daniel to the back of this train. They've got a 4.6 buffer to the cars behind. So it's the top 8 all squabbling it out over these positions. And now crucially, Yannick Sandrov dropping out of the DRS range of Ironheart and Danilescu in front. We could see the two V-Carbs now try and break away from the field before this pit window.
And it would be absolutely crucial, and it would be incredible to see them break away. We haven't seen a safety car just yet. Not trying to jinx anything, but we haven't seen a safety car yet. If we don't see one for the remainder of this race, it's worked out perfectly for the two V-Carbs to take a 1-2. I think Yanni Alexandrov is out of the DRS. He's not going to open that rear flap heading down this tiny little straight, or the main straight, as it appears to be. We've got AMG and Giovanni Baruzza swapping position there side by side. Through goes Baruzza, back up into P13. But looking back up at the leaders, does Yanni Alexandrov have the DRS? No is the answer to that question. And so he is going to be absolutely swarmed down the straight. Timon Voss, the first one to go past. Actually, Yanni Alexandrov has decided to dispose of these softs and pick up a 10-second time penalty while he was at it. So just a moment of madness from the Ferrari there has just cost him a potential battle for a podium off of those softs. He made the strategy work, and then he sort of ruined it again, and he's going to come out of the pits 10 seconds behind where he actually is on track at the end of the race. He's going to serve that, and it's really going to cost him big time, which means this train is down to 7. And Ironut and Danilescu, they have been reeled in over the last lap. 0.6 seconds now between Danilescu and Voss. And so the gap that they were trying to build, whatever it was that they were trying to do, well, it's not paid off.
No, it certainly hasn't, as they're both, especially for Sandrov, with that 10-second time penalty in the V-Carbs, now under pressure from Timon. So, now got that lead to try and manage, with Voss going to be extra racy behind. He's not had an opportunity to fight with the V-Carbs in front, so this is going to be his first opportunity at a real squabble with Danilescu and Ironut, and he'll be looking to make pay and at least separate the two RBs, of course. With this position, this trap position that the two RBs do have, the guy who's probably in second place when the pit window does come around will have to go for an extra lap. That is going to be the big jeopardy of this race. And with that extra lap undercut, that could be the difference between being in this DRS train come the pit lane exit or not. So for Timon Voss, a little bit wide through turn 7 as we now head through turns 8 and then into 9. He's getting really close to the back of Robert Danilescu, who's had a little slide heading out to turn 9. So that RB not looking too happy on his rear tyres. Another little slide out to turn 10 as well. But Ariane Sanger as well is looking at waiting in the wings. He's looking to try and make a move on Voss. So any little mistake that could be made within the next few corners, even if it's just a failed overtaking move, could work into the favour of the Haas driver behind. Another slide from Danilescu. out of turn 12 and a little slide out of turn 13 as well. As we've got DRS open once again, heading down the main straight. Is anyone going to get close enough for a move into this first corner? Radek looking close to Tim Bayer, who's defended that inside line. But look at them all bunch up through that first corner. Daniel at the end of this train, he's seven tenths behind Adam Radek in front, so he's got a little bit of fresh air to push into compared to everybody else. But Ironut doing a very, very nice job to keep everybody behind. Sanger still about a tenth and a half behind Simon Voss. So we really are getting to crunch time, and within the next, I would say, 5 to 6 laps, we'll see drivers into the pit lane for their pit stops. And that is where the drivers are now going to be looking forward to. You need to get your moves done. You need that track position before the pit window. So expect some aggressive moves over the next few laps.
Yeah, and I think maybe this could be where the RB's race is defined. Whether they do fight, whether they think about who's coming into the pits first. Maybe somebody goes for an undercut as opposed to an overcut, because track position will be king, as you said. And, well, if someone goes for an undercut, they will actually get track position. And they'd probably rather have that than the fresher tyres, although maybe they could be working in a different way, as there's now 6 tenths between Ironut and Robert Dinilescu, although that's second place is going to switch. It's going to be Timer Voss. Huge send, though, around the outside from Robert Dinilescu to hold on to it, but a wobble on the exit has allowed Timon Voss through. Now Tim Bayer's looking very, very aggressive on the back of Sanger. He's around the outside. He could switch back, but no, he's going to stay behind Sanger with a wobble on the exit. This opens up the door once again for the Alpine, but he's just cut it back off, has Sanger quite aggressively. Not able to make any overtakes in Sector 2, really, unless you're incredibly ballsy. And Tim Bayer, at the moment, not making those overtakes required to get ahead of the Haas. But Ironut now leading Timon Voss with Robert Dinilescu in third place. I think the idea was that Dinilescu would try to build a gap between Ironut and himself, so that they could afford to go into the pits at the same time. As it stands, they will not be able to do this, and we're about to cross over to the halfway point of this race. These mediums won't last too much longer. We'll see when they decide to come in. Surely one of the RBs comes in early. I think that has to be the strategy. That has to be the way. Ironut faints into the pits. Nobody falls for it. Ariane Sanger, he pulls to the inside of Robert Dinilescu, and he could be making the RB's day a whole lot worse. Indeed, he does, as Dinilescu tries to run wide, tries to pull alongside, but it didn't quite work, and he will drop down once again. Tim Bayer once again trying to push somebody through the same corner as he did on the last lap. Ariane Sanger once again having a wobble on the exit, so it's deja vu at the moment for the Haas driver, but he won't mind it because he's currently sitting in P3. NSR, by the way, in the meantime, making his way past Michael Heidrich and Danko, who are having a scrap, and it looks like just behind them, AMG is not sure if he's disconnected. He was ghosted for a moment, but maybe that's just another screen freeze. That's just costing a few of these drivers a couple of tenths, and a couple of tenths could be absolutely crucial.
Yeah, it certainly could. The worst case scenario would be one of these drivers at the front of the field getting a screen freeze on that final lap, especially if they're leading the Grand Prix. Hopefully that does not happen, and we haven't just cursed one of these drivers up in the top 7. So DRS open once again down the main straight. Through the banking they go, over those bumps, and they really do unsettle that car through the bank section. So Sanger just going to be able to hold on to Robert Dinilescu behind. He's now going to turn his attention to Timon Voss in front. It's been a great comeback from Ariane Sanger over these last few laps to get up into that top 3 as Chris Yu and NSR still squabbling over that 8th place. Now Heidrich going to go side by side with his teammate up into turn 2. There's a yellow flag. That's for Sandrov, who's had a moment on the exit of the banking. That could be what I said about just dropping it out of that corner on the bumps. That could pay dividends come the end of the Grand Prix when they're on worn tyres. Battling it out for the lead, giving it absolutely everything. So, you still got to need to look out for that one. And Sanger with another opportunistic lunge to the inside into turn 9. It'll be the outside for turn 10. A wobble for the kick Sauber, and nearly Sanger forced over the gravel once again on the exit at turn 10. Luckily, he was able to avoid the kick Sauber in front of him, and Voss with some good car control to just give enough room to the Haas driver behind. But that could have been another nightmare scenario as Devin Martinez now having a moment by himself through turn 9. The two drivers that went for that undercut, it's not working in their favour at all. Here we go, DRS open for Sanger. He's going to look to the inside line of Simon Voss. Can he go for Iron Nut as well? He's going to go late to the break into the back of the V-Carb as we head into turns 1 and now up into 2. He's able to get the move done on the kick Sauber. His attention will now be on his championship rival of Iron Nut. This is going to get very tasty up the front, and also something to look out for as well here, Kotkaz. It is getting awfully dark over the sand dunes here in Zandvoort. Are we due for some rain?
That would certainly spice this rain up. It's the monsoon conditions that we were promised. They have returned, and they could be coming as time. And Voss takes the escape road on the exit. What on earth happened there? He's just had issues, and he's dropped now down to the rear of the pack. He's not dropped too far down, but just a small error has cost him majorly, as now he's not in that fight up forward for the podium positions. In that fight, more for P5 with Adam Radek. We've got yellow flags out in Sector 2 for somebody. I think that might be Giovanni Baruzza, who is going slowly. He's managed to get back up to pace again. Is anyone going to come in on this lap 20? Ironut fakes again. Robert Dinilescu goes for real. And it's one of the RBs. It's the rear RB who comes into the pits. He is going to be the first one. I said that one of them is going to make an undercut. I was correct. And for Robert Dinilescu, this is a crucial moment in this Grand Prix. Switching on to the soft compound tyre. He's going to try to make them last 15 laps until the end of this one. And for the rest of the drivers, this will kick their engineers into overdrive. Surely we're getting rain very, very soon, though, as it's looking ever so slippy, ever so muddy on the tyre defenders, I think they're called. I'm not sure the official term, but Ironut and Ariane Sanger are in the lead of this race. Tim Bayer, he's dropped off a little bit. I say a little bit, 4/10, but that's how close this race has been so far. But surely, some point soon, it's going to get rainy. And Robert Dinilescu, I think, is going to be made to rue that decision to come into the pits, to switch onto the soft compound tyre. And it could just be the end of a perfect day for the RB team, as Dinilescu now is 5.5 seconds off Jack Maloney at the back of the field. He's going to be hoping that the rain holds off just for a little while longer. Ironut and Sanger into the pits. They're all going to come into the pits, actually. Maybe it's not as wet as it seems, because I think they're all going to come in. And surely it's going to be for the soft compound tyre. They'd be crazy to go on to anything else even before it started raining. We will see as Ironut in. Yes, softs for everybody. As well, we'll see where Dinilescu is in relation to the rest of them. He's going to come out in front of all of them, apart from, I think, his teammate. Indeed, he is. This has actually been played perfectly by RB, who continue to maintain that 1-2. But now they're 8/10 ahead of Ariane Sanger.
Oh, brilliantly done there from Dinilescu, and he's really pushed hard and worked on that outlap to get up to the back of his teammate, and this has put the game straight back into RB's hands. And Ironut can now just try and push on into that clear area. He's got 4.1 seconds between him and Jack Maloney. And if the hard runners stay out for even longer, we could see these guys play a part in this battle for the race lead. And for Ironut, that could be crucial. It could be the difference between him winning this race and streaking clear of the rest of the field and losing it completely. So for Ironut, as he heads through turns 11 and 12, he's got his teammate Dinilescu behind. Sanger just got within that DRS range thanks to a mistake from Dinilescu, and that is really going to cost the RB drivers heading through turns 13, 14, and now into turn 1. NSR and Chris Hughes swap places once more into that first corner. Dinilescu getting past Ironut into turn 1, and Ariane Sanger is fighting his way back to the top 2 in front of him. Of course, the net top 2 once everybody else comes into the pit lane. But look at that gap between Dinilescu and Jack Maloney. It's 2.2 seconds. They've gained about a second on this last lap. And look at the squabbling that's being made between those top 5 cars. Here comes Mukwire on AMG in front. Is he going to go for a move into turn 9? That'll be a big question for these drivers squabbling, trying to stay out in case a safety car occurs. And now that gap 1.8, 1.7, now down to 1.6. They're gaining at a rate of knots. This could be a race-defining moment trying to navigate through the back markers. I think you might have muted yourself, Cockcats.
I pressed the button, but it didn't register. Ah, well. Dinilescu is now within that DRS of Jack Maloney down the main straight as that's NSR into the pits. And he will be passed by his championship leader down the main straight. The fastest laps are flying in. And flying in is Dinilescu on the inside of Jack Maloney. They're side by side. Big kick of oversteer on the exit of turn number 1 by Jack Maloney. But it's not cost them anything as Dinilescu, he's slicing his way now through the field. He's alongside Mouchoir. He's been boxed in by Mouchoir and AMG. But he's past the Kick Sauber. And now he's looking forward. He's looking at AMG. He's going to make these moves in Sector 2 of all places. And he's made his way past AMG as well. We said it could be race defining. This is almost definitely race winning now for Dinilescu, as everyone else is having problems. Sanger and Ironut getting tripped up by one another as Dinilescu takes the lead of this race. Ironut now dropping behind Sanger as they get tripped up over Mouchoir in the second sector. And Sanger now looking ahead rather than behind, but Ironut sending it through on Sanger, squeezing him to the inside, squeezing him onto the sand. And Ironut's holding on. Big kick of oversteer from Sanger. Don't know if that was from contact between himself and Ironut, but DRS down the main straight will beckon, and they will be desperate to make this move past AMG. Chrisu is the only driver standing in their way now between Robert Dinilescu and the rest. Although for Ariane Sanger, he's going to make this one a lot harder down the inside of AMG. The Mercedes squeezed him as much as he could, but Sanger just forced his way through anyway, and he is up into P4. Chrisu, the final driver for Ironut and Sanger to overcome, but a 6/10 gap, 7/10 gap has opened up between the Williams and Dinilescu in front. Ironut trying to make his way past Chris, who's not making it easy, but in the end, Ironut forces his way through and makes Chrisu have a kick of oversteer, which allows Sanger through as well. Timon Voss and Tim Bayer make their way past AMG, so does Adam Radek. Chrisu will be the next driver for them to pass as well, but the two RBs and the Haas of Ariane Sanger, they've played this one perfectly.
They certainly have, and I thought Dinilescu would have street clear when he had two cars in between himself and the rest of the field, but no, wasn't able to capitalise, and Chrisu and Timon Voss making some contact. This could allow Adam Radek to capitalise here, but no, Radek has to sit behind the Kick Sauber for now, and this is now holding up Tim Bayer as we head down through the banking once more. Dinilescu, Ironut and Sanger are your three protagonists for this race lead. Dinilescu's best result of the season is a 9th place finish in, I think it was in Singapore, and still, what a result this would be, and this could propel him into championship contention if he can win this one. Yes, of course, Ironut will be getting 18 points over his championship rival NSR, and Ariane Sanger will only be an extra about 7 points back from the RB, but this can really help Dinilescu's championship chance if he's able to kickstart his season now. This is the crucial point. If you want to get your season started, it has to be now. This is the final race to mount any championship charge if you want one at all. And if Dinilescu can win this one, he certainly can kick it off in fashion. So as we head through turns 11 and 12, the gap to the three cars behind, is 1.7 seconds. So it's a top 3 shootout for now. But if these guys start squabbling, don't count out Radek, Voss, or Tim Bayer in this one. Here comes Ironut on his teammate Dinilescu. Will Sanger try and follow him through? He's using that battery as the ass. There's a yellow flag behind. That's for Radek. And there goes side. Dinilescu, he has split the two RBs. This is now game on for this race lead. It's the two championship protagonists fighting one another on the road. 6 points is that gap. Whoever comes out on top will get this championship lead. It is all to play for here in the sand dunes of Zandvoort.
And this could be a race that defines the season for a few of these drivers. If Sanger picks up that momentum and picks up that championship lead here today, he could run away with it. The same, though, for Ironut, as the current driver in the championship lead alongside Ironut is down in P14. He's outside of the points, is the Aston Martin, and this has really not been his day. And it's been a crucial day to not be on form, as Ironut and Sanger have been incredible so far this race. But with 9 laps left to go, surely they will be on the podium together. But in what order? It's Ironut, Sanger, Dinilescu. They will be in that order heading on to lap 28. But heading on to the end of lap 36, who knows what the order could be It could even change as early as the start of lap 28 as Sanger around the outside of Ironut. The RB clinging to the inside line, but Sanger just has too much overspeed out of turn number 1, and Ironut drops down. He falls behind the Haas, and Ariane Sanger will take the lead of the race. The other Haas in the meantime, Danko, he will make his way past us. Daniel comes into the pits. It's raining here in Zandvoort, just to add another incredible twist to the tale of this Dutch Grand Prix. We've got 8 laps to go, and it's raining here around Zandvoort, here in the sand dunes. Daniel and Mouchoir, keep an eye on their pace as they switched onto the intermediate tyres. Keep an eye on Voss and Radek and Bayer as well. Are they going to make a gamble? And is it going to pay off? Are they going to come into the pits and switch off from those softs? Are the top 3 going to do the same? Remember, Dinilescu and Ironut, they will get caught up with each other if they both come into the pits. And, well, for the moment, it'll be Dinilescu who'll have to double stack. It's actually raining quite significantly as Daniel is matching the pace of Yanni Alexandrov ahead of him. Is anyone going to dive into the pits? Yes, they are. It's going to be Ironut who comes into the pits. The RB is the only one from the top 6 that comes into the pits. This could be huge. It's side by side, by the way, turn number 1. It's still fighting Radek and Timon Voss. Radek gets through. Bayer hits the side of Voss, and that will break his momentum. Radek moves up to P3. Dinilescu's lost DRS to Sanger. Ironut's into the pits. He's onto the inters. This is chaos.
I think the top 6 have made an absolutely horrendous decision to stay out for an extra lap. They are struggling with this grip coming out of every corner. They're having a huge kick of oversteer through these fast corners, and they're really having to pay attention to what is going on in front of them. Of course, in the wet weather especially, you have to think there's an egg underneath your throttle pedal, and you cannot crack that egg or you are going round, and that's exactly what's happening. You can see the rain is starting to stick on the road. Has Ironut, the man fighting for the championship lead, made an executive decision that could just take him into the lead of this championship. Of course, he's tied on points with NSR. If he wins this Grand Prix, he could certainly see himself streak 25 points clear at the end of this championship standings. Sanger is in, Dinilescu is in, everyone's coming in for those intermediate tyres, but where does Ironut come out in all of this? Has it been a masterclass of a strategy from a man under so much pressure? He has that championship on the line. He knows he has to capitalise with NSR's poor qualifying performance as he's heading now through turn 1. Is Sanger just going to stay out in front? They're going to be side by side on pit exit. I think Ironut with the overspeed is just going to do this one. They're going side by side through turn 2. Sanger holds on. This race will live on for another day. It is still the championship contenders to fight this one out to the death, and we'll see who is going to win this one. Lap 30 of 36. Ironut with those intermediate tyres up to temperature. Sanger with the intermediates that are cold and very cold indeed. It is going to be a race to the flag. Who has the commitment? Who has the wet weather capabilities? It is all going to be a game of who is smoothest, and will Sanger be able to hold on to defeat the man coming into this race tied on points with the championship leader. And Sanger could end this one with 6 points back from that top 2 as a new PC Tier 5 championship leader.
And it's going to be a straight fight to the line, you'd think, as Dinilescu is outside of the DRS range. Not that that physically matters, because it has just been disabled, but it's got a huge psychological advantage for the 2 in front. 1.1 seconds between Ironut and Dinilescu now. But Ironut, he's 8 tenths behind Sanger. So clearly Sanger's got those tyres up to speed nice and quickly. And he, at the moment, is the Rainmaster around Zandvoort. We will see, though, across the last 5 laps, as there is a yellow flag. Yanni Alexandrov and Jack Maloney having problems in Sector 2. AMG, by the way, he came in and he's trying to make another set of the soft compound tyres work. Never mind, he's just come back in. It could be points for NSR in this race after all, but a singular point will be nowhere near enough compared to the 25 and 18 that Sanger and Ironut will be taking home in this race. Dinilescu just making his way back into that 1 second gap between himself and Ironut, but Ironut has dropped off behind Sanger. Sanger, who looked, well, he wasn't in the fight for the lead of this race for so long. It was Ironut, it was Dinilescu, it was Bayer at one point. it was Yanni Alexandrov at one point, but now it's Sanger and Sanger alone.
It certainly is, and Sanger just driving off into the distance, off into the horizon, and over the sand. So, we'll see if Sanger's going to be able to hold on to this one, of course. In these conditions, even if you have a nice and healthy lead, one mistake can ruin it all. But luckily, it's not anything too treacherous just yet. It's still at that somewhat crossover period between the softs and the intermediates. AMG must have accidentally gone onto a set of hard compounder tyres there, so that's really ruined his race here, and he's having to make his way and trek his way back to the pit lane. Wouldn't be surprised if we see a retirement from him, but up at the front, that gap now 1.4 seconds. Danilescu's actually catching up to his teammate, so Sanger could potentially increase this championship lead by even more, because Danilescu has so much more pace than his teammate Ironut, and he'll be coming under pressure if he's stuck behind the V-Carb by Adam Radek behind. So we might see a swap between the two teammates, because Ironut has no confidence. The confidence we saw in the dry has not correlated to the wet, and unfortunately for the man who is second in this championship, he could see his title hopes fading a little bit more as this season progresses. Of course, we're in the halfway stage of the season here in Zandvoort, and every point is absolutely crucial. So if Sanger's able to get a nice and healthy championship lead, he will certainly see himself get a nice damage limitation advantage over the cars behind in this championship standings. Ironut now under pressure from his teammate Danilescu. This side by side between Voss and Radek over 4th and 5th position. Radek holding this one around the outside, the optimal line in the wet weather conditions. Voss surely not going to go for this into turn 2. No, he backs out, and Sanger 2.2 seconds ahead. But let's see what happens with the two RBs over the next 2 laps.
At the moment, it is Danilescu who has that pace advantage. Do they choose tactically, or do they think more about the title fight? It would be, I think, a bit silly at this point to think about the title fight, because Ironut is not making any inroads into Ariane Sanger's time. Danilescu, though, he will be. And so they are going to have to play this very, very carefully. The way that they play this could define the championship. There's yellow flags out, and that is, I believe, AMG getting out of the way of a lot of drivers, but Ironut and Danilescu split by just 2/10. Adam Radek 7/10 behind the two as well. So the pace that they have, they set up for the dry conditions, hoping that the wets wouldn't come. They have come, and it's not worked for particularly Ironut, who's not been able to translate that pace in the dry to the wet down the main straight. He might get overtaken by Danilescu. It's looking more and more likely as he pulls to the inside. I think he's going to defend this one against his teammate. Danilescu trying to hold it around the outside like he has so many times. But this time he's a lot more tentative, and he's not going to make that move stick. He's not going to hold it around the outside. To the inside, maybe? No, because there's a huge slide on the entry from Danilescu that really compromises his exit. And so this group of 4 drivers will be competing for 2nd and 3rd in this race, as now there's a 0.5 gap opened up even more between Ariane Sanger and Ironut. And yellow flags out. Jack Maloney having more issues, and it's really not been his day either. We've got 3 drivers down the bottom of the field. It's not been their days. 4 drivers retired of their own volition as well, as they were complaining a lot about the screen freezes, I think. So that just adds another element to this race, to this chaos that we've had around the Zandvoort circuit. But with 2 laps to go, 2 and a bit laps to go, it's still all up in the air. Everything could just be changed in the flicker of a controller, of a wheel, in the blink of an eye. And for Ariane Sanger, that could be a big wobble. We saw quite a few of them earlier on as he was fighting away, but at the moment he looked absolutely dominant. He's not having to take those same risks, but if he has one moment on the grass like we saw him have earlier, a half spin in Sector 2, this could change the course of the race. Do not shut your eyes. Do not look away, because this is going to be incredibly close, whether it's the fight for the lead, the fight for P2. It's not over, and it won't be over until the line.
No, it certainly won't be. We still have that fight for 2nd place on the cards. Ironut, Danilescu, Radek, and Voss all squabbling for those final podium positions. And Sanger just cruising off into the distance. He just has to keep it on the road, 4.2 seconds clear. And all he has to do is just make sure everything is smooth as here comes Radic to the inside of Danilescu into turn 9. Is he going to be able to pull this one off now to the outside of turn 10? Danilescu late on the brake slides up in front of the Ferrari behind him and luckily able to keep position there. But Danilescu with a little bit of worry behind his teammate Ionut. Was it the right decision to sit behind? I think he's actually going to help Ionut in this one to make sure his teammate is the best possible opportunity in the championship standings. But we're now entering the final lap of what has been a chaotic, an absolutely crazy Zandvoort Netherlands Grand Prix. And here we are then, heading into turn 1. Timon Voss looking to the outside of Adam Radek. As we head through turn 1, who's going to come out on top? Timon going to try hold this one round the outside now through turn 2, but once again doesn't have to drive off the corner to be side by side through there. As we now exit out of turn 3, this is where Radek is strong. Through this whole turn 3 to 9 complex, he is a very quick driver, and that Ferrari could still challenge for this final podium spot from Robert Danilescu as we now head through turn 7. Just look at the commitment the Scarlet Red car can produce through these next few corners. Is he going to be able to pull this one off? No, it just doesn't seem like he's going to be close enough for that dive to the inside line as we now head into turn 10. Once again, no moves being made. Danilescu with a bit of a slide mid-corner. This could allow Radek to capitalise heading down into turn 12. But further up, we need to look at the man who is in his first 2 races has a lowest finish of 2nd. He's got to keep up that streak of a 1st, 2nd. It'll be back to the top step of a podium. It was domination in Singapore. It was a 2nd place in Silverstone. Match that up with a wet weather masterstroke. Ariane Sanger wins here in Zandvoort. And what a way to take the championship lead. A determined drive from the Haas driver. Ionut finishes in 2nd. Danilescu in 3rd. And Timon Voss just misses out on Adam Radek. 4 thousandths of a second with a photo finish at the line. But Ariane Sanger take a bow after the incidents early on in this Grand Prix. He's fought tooth and nail. He's dug deep. And the Haas driver comes out on top here in the dunes of Zandvoort.
And they'll be incredibly soggy dunes, but Ariane Sanger will not care. He has dominated in this second portion of the race, and it's the most crucial portion of the race because he was the first coming across the line on lap 36. And what a race from the Haas man, just keeping it in there, just keeping patient, and it demonstrates that keeping patient is incredibly useful, and it can pay dividends. And for the Haas driver, he's had an absolute chaotic race. His heart rate will be through the roof, but he won't care. His elation will be through the roof. He will absolutely not care in any way, shape or form, because what a race we had on our hands. And Ariane Sanger, what a drive. He deserved this victory right from the moment that he was able to keep up with the top 2 who had incredible pace earlier on, just from the moment that he was just able to drive off into the distance. And he showed a level of domination we rarely see in PC Tier 5 with how matched everybody is. But in the end, Ariane Sanger proved me wrong. He takes victory here today in Zandvoort ahead of Ionut in 2nd. He led for so long, and so he will be doing some reflection. He'll be disappointed with a 2nd place, and I think that shows how well the former championship leader has driven so far this season. Obviously, former championship leader Sanger has taken that mantle. Danilescu holding on to 3rd place in the end. He has helped his teammate maintain as many points as he can in the constructors. Radek in 4th, Voss in 5th, Bayer in 6th, Daniel in 7th, Mouchoir in 8th. And then NSR, your former joint championship leader, he will drop right down with how close it is in 9th. Giovanni Baruzza rounding out the points. Michael Heidrich only just behind them in P11, the only competitive driver to not pick up points. And it's Yanni Alexandrov, Jack Maloney, Chrisu and AMG who were the final finishers, with Danko, David Martinez, Dallin Muktir and Christian Lubanov retiring from the race. But for Ariane Sanger, absolute elation as he was able to get this one over the line.
Yeah, brilliant elation there for Sanger, and he really had to fight for that one. That was no easy feat around a circuit. That's difficult to overtake at the best of times, and he still managed to fight his way to the front, then able to keep that after an undercut attempt from Iron Up. But even if Iron Up got ahead, I still think Sanger would have got past in the end because he just had that pace advantage, and he really would have just gone straight by with an absolute just breeze with that slipstream heading down that main straight. But a brilliant drive from Sanger. Still can't count out Iron either. He could try controlling that race as best as he possibly can. And then for Robert Denilescu as well, a brilliant result. Third place after a best finish of ninth all season, where he did pick that up. He did pick that up at Singapore. So that 2-point tally is now going to turn into a 17-point tally, and that should promote him quite a way up the championship standings from 19th. So a decent haul for the championship as well for RB, of course, in the constructors' standings. Of course, we don't really focus on this too much. It's usually every driver for themselves. But for the constructors, that will put them above Aston Martin, and they will be in that top 3 of the standings, and also in front of McLaren as well. So they'll be up to second in the constructors, and for Iron Nut, his next target, keep in front of Iron Sanger for the next few races. Of course, that gap at the top is going to be oh so close. It is going to be a total of, I think it's 1 point, isn't it, separating that top 2 of Sanger and Iron Nut heading into Hungary next week?
Yes, I think you'd be right in that.
It was a 6-point gap. So Sanger, 1 point ahead. It's still pretty much level pegging heading into the next round.
And I mean, that's exactly how we want a championship fight to be going. But also, special mention for NSR. He could be coming back in the next race with a vengeance. And so we will be seeing incredible fighting, as we always see in PC Tier 5. But it could just light up. It could just get even spicier as we head through the season. We've got one of the podium drivers sitting in the interview waiting room.
Oh, we've got 3 of them.
We've got all 3 of them now sitting in the interview waiting room. The first one we'll bring in, the third place man. We'll bring in Robert. We've got 4 drivers in there now. But first, we'll bring in Robert Dinilescu, who worked together so well with his teammate to come through in 3rd place. Robert, how did you find that race?
I mean, it was tricky with no practice at all. So I was only trying to defend units from the guys behind. I was trying to be a good teammate.
So was it the team game for you? Because we couldn't quite tell. There was some points where maybe you and Iron looked like you might be fighting, but was it all about the team play for you? Were you just desperately trying to get Iron to the lead of the race as far away as you could?
Well, I was only trying to play with units, but we didn't manage that. He didn't really have the pacing wets. That's because of his pedals. So I was only trying to go easily behind him, try not to incommodate him.
And well, I mean, we saw how ridiculous the pace was in the dry. Was it? Was it a what was the pedal issue for Iron that you found? And did you feel as though at any point you could have forced your way past, and you could have said that you were actually the faster driver on that wet?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course, I could have gone a lot faster. I could have kept up with Ariane, maybe fight for the win, but you know, it's team play. We go first for that.
Fair enough. Is it going to be team play for the rest of the season now, as we've just crossed over the halfway point?
Hopefully. Let's see.
Okay.
We'll see. We'll work together somehow.
Very, very good, and very, very well done on your drive. Max, have you got any questions for Robert before we let him go?
Yes, one from me, Robert. Of course, congratulations on your first podium of the season. My question is, of course, you got this podium this evening with no practice. We got Hungary next week. Are you looking to build off that? Maybe have a little bit of practice and aim for that race win?
I mean, yeah, that's a thought that crossed my mind earlier, 5 minutes ago. I will do some practice for that race. I just didn't manage to get to the PC lately, so that's why I was no practice at all today. But yes, let's see for the next race. Maybe we can challenge for a win.
Well, thank you very much, Robert, and congratulations on that podium.
Thank you, guys. Have a good evening.
Next up, we will have the teammate that he was trying to help throughout that race. We have Ironut in the call with us at the moment. How was that race for you in the end?
Hello. The race was pretty decent until the rain hit because, as you can see, I was pretty much decent in the dry conditions, but once the rain hit, I was a snail on the track. I have to change my pedals for that.
So we were talking to Robert. We found out that it was a pedal issue. What was the actual issue that was the difference between the dry and the wet?
Yeah, like I said, my pedals. I can't really feel anything in the wet, so yeah, I can't really push the limit. I have to be really cautious.
Fair enough. Was it something that was decided before the race that that you and Robert were going to fight together so hard to allow you to take the points away, or was it just something that was decided on the spot?
Honestly, I think it was decided before the race. I told him that if I'm faster, then he should not fight me, and if he's faster, I will let him by. But once the rain hit, he knew that I needed the points in the championship, so he helped me.
And we saw your main what was your main championship rival, NSR, down outside of the points for the majority of the race. Were you keeping an eye on that, or were you having a look at some of the other drivers? Because I know that it's incredibly close.
I mean, Aryan will probably be he will be my main championship rival if he comes to all the races. So I don't really pay attention to NSR, honestly.
Fair enough. Max, have you got any questions?
Yes, one from me, Iron. Of course, you're only 1 point behind now, heading into the next championship, into the next round at Hungary in the championship. Is your focus now race by race, take the championship that way, or is it just think of the bigger picture? If you're not able to get close enough to Sanya into Hungary, your main focus will be then on China.
There is no way I can't get close. I mean, the only thing that can stop me to win this championship is if it will be wet every round, but I doubt. And yeah, I pretty much think I have the pace to win the championship, but I need a little bit of luck as well.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, congratulations on that P2. Well, I say congratulations. Is it a disappointing result for you in the end?
Honestly, I'm not too happy about it, but neither too sad because still good amount of points. So yeah, I'm not that disappointed, but could have won.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, thank you very much for joining us this evening. And yeah, I mean, congratulations in the end for that P2.
Thank you. See you.
Goodbye. I think that may be all of them because I think that one of our, the race leader, unfortunately, is having some tech issues that I believe will be affecting his journey into the comms box and into the interview room. So I think we're going to leave it off there. Any final thoughts, Max?
Yeah, just an amazing race here in Zandvoort. One that could be a key factor in this championship. Yes, it's only 1 point between Sangya and Ironut heading into Hungary, but it could be a crucial point in that championship tale. So I'd say join us next week. And actually, I think Sangya can join us if we give him just 1 quick second. His PC blue screened, but he's back up and running now. So we will get an interview from the man who won the race and your new championship leader. But yeah, that's my thoughts heading into next week for the signing off part.
I think it's definitely going to be one to watch out for. And I will be watching with you. I won't be commentating next week, unfortunately, but I will certainly be keeping an eye on the action and keeping an eye on the results. And hopefully we'll have well, we've got a couple of commentators that could be lined up that could be, well, even better than me. So you'll be getting some incredible action from the comms box, hopefully from Max, hopefully from whoever comes in to fill in for me. But in terms of incredible, to say the word incredible is an understatement of the pace that Ariane Sanger had in the wet, and he has joined us right now in the interview room. Hello, Ariane. How was that race for you?
Interesting to say the least. I can't lie. Think I got taken out about 3 times, but here we are.
We saw you having a couple of maybe was it traction issues or was it contact in the dry at least?
Probably both. Probably a bit of both. Not gonna lie. There's quite a bit of contact, then traction. Yeah, there's a bit of that as well.
And well, we saw you switch onto the intermediate tires, and you just absolutely blew away from the rest of the field. Did you prepare for the wet conditions going into it?
No, I didn't really prepare for the race at all. To be fair, I've been busy, so I just hopped on. The game kept crashing, so I didn't get to do a lap of practice.
Yeah, and I mean it's something that's I think's plagued quite a few of the drivers today. Was the game blue screening? Not blue screening. Sorry, your PC did blue screen. But
yeah.
was the game having any sort of screen freezes at all?
A few stutters here and there, but I've had that for ages now, so
Fair enough.
Used to it a bit.
Max, have you got any questions?
Yes, one from me. That must have been a really difficult race there for you, Ariane. Really, just what was your thoughts, especially after that incident with Tim where you went off onto the grass? Did that really feel like a really rewarding victory?
Yeah, a bit, because I got taken out about 3 times, so to come back, it was quite an achievement, to be fair.
Yeah, were you? Was it? Because we talk sometimes about we talk sometimes about a flow state where drivers just get into just a routine of going around and they just feel as though they're not even the ones driving the car just because of how much quicker they're able to find or how much time they're able to find out of their regular running. I know you didn't do much time trial, but did it feel towards the end of the race a little bit more like not an out of body experience, but did you just feel as though you were just finding time where regularly you wouldn't have been able to?
Yeah, in the rain definitely, but in the dry, I was just trying to keep up more. Well, not keep up, just I don't know. I was just driving to the best I could, but in the rain, I was just driving and I was just pulling a gap, and I didn't really understand how.
Fair enough, and well, congratulations on your race victory and your new championship lead now.
Oh wow.
Was that not something you were expecting?
No, not yet.
Well, you're 1 point ahead of Iron at the top of the standings. But we will let you go now. Very much congratulations on that race victory, and good luck next week.
Yeah, thank you.
So there we go. That's maybe no practice is the way to go. It seems because that was 2 of our top 3 who've said they've had minimal to no practice. For this race, but we've gone through Max's final thoughts now. I think my final thoughts are echoed. It's very much probably the most exciting division, at least from my perspective, to keep up with, but I may be biased. But make sure that you join us next week when we are traversing, I believe it's the Hungarian Grand Prix that we have next up. Indeed, it is. It's the Hungarian Grand Prix. So make sure to join us next week for the final PC race in 2024. But until next time, it is goodbye.